Services and Kirk Market. Experience a world of choice. And Automotive Art Cayman. Your car, our passion. And by Dorman Day, celebrating 10 years of opening doors to brighter futures. Visit dormanday.ky.
And now, Radio Cayman presents The Buzz, an insightful and fresh take on a variety of issues that impact the local environment. This is where we address the topics that matter. Here's your host, Kathy Miller.
Good morning, Cayman. Welcome to The Buzz. I hear that there's a little bit of an accident if you're coming out of the Eastern District, so if you're moving particularly slower this morning, that is why. Take your time. Don't try to stop and take pictures of the accident. You know, that's going to slow everything down even more for the morning commuters. But take your time and just be safe on the roads this morning. So today we begin a very special interview series in partnership with the Ministry of Health, and we're focusing on the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey. This is the first of what I think is a 5-part interview series of a comprehensive look at the state of our nation's health based on the findings from the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey. Now, if you're still waking up, this info right here, it might scare you right awake. There's nearly 1 in 4 adults in the Cayman Islands have raised blood pressure. Only 58% of those diagnosed are on medication for it. Almost 1 in 3 adults have high cholesterol. Shockingly, 1 in 3 have never even had their cholesterol measured. That was very surprising to me. And cardiovascular disease remains the leading cause of death in the Cayman Islands, responsible for 27% of all deaths. That's more than a quarter of the mortality rate. So today we're focusing on hypertension, cholesterol, and cardiovascular disease, what the report statistics reveal, and what they mean for you, your family, and the future impact of our healthcare system. With me in studio are the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Hilary Wolf, and the Chief Nursing Officer, Felicia McLean. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good morning. Great to be here.
It's good to have you here. I know I always have Felicia, but I think Dr. Wolf, this is the first time I'm on with you. So it's a pleasure to have you on The Buzz.
Thank you.
So we're going to get right into it, ladies. We're going to just start with a bit of a background on what the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey is all about.
Yeah. So taking us back a bit, back in 2012, the Cayman Islands, embarked on the STEPS survey data. So we actually have historical data from 2012. Normally it's done every 10 years, so we were a little bit behind, but in 2023, we once again took on the challenge of putting together the STEPS survey. The STEPS survey is a survey that looks at understanding the non-communicable disease risk of the Cayman Islands. So what does our population look from a health standpoint in regards to ill health? And what are our risk factors for getting non-communicable diseases such as high blood pressure, stroke, cardiovascular disease, kidney disease, different things like that. Stuff that are not you can't catch it from someone else. They kind of happen because you're in ill health or not following a good diet and those things. So we embarked on doing this study. The study itself is, as it says, steps. There's 3 steps to the study. Step 1 is a questionnaire that's completed. It's a self-reported questionnaire. But let me take a step back. So let's look at the survey household. Basically, to get an idea of the population and the health of the population, you don't test everyone in the Cayman Islands. You took a sample of 3,300 people, which gave us a proportionate of what the health would look like for the country based on that 3,300 people. It's a standard approach that we use, and it's used globally. And then basically it was eligible for people from age 18 to age 69. And unlike other health facility data, so I could go to HSA or Health City and say, tell me what your numbers are, but that's not a true proportion of what's going on in the country. So this is actually a proven way to understand how the Cayman Islands is doing in regards to non-communicable diseases. And then we could also compare it to where we were in 2012. Going on from there, there's 3 steps to this process, as I was mentioning. And first is the questionnaire that people report for themselves. So those 3,000 people had to create their own, fill out their own survey on how they think they're doing. Do they think they have high blood pressure? Do they think they eat well? Do they think they exercise well? All of those kind of questions they would have asked. And then step 2, it involved getting physical measurements such as blood pressure, weight, and this was all taken at home. So we had lots of volunteers that signed up to be a part of it, to go into homes. We had nurses as well, and they would go into home, they'd take the measurements and just gather that data. And then step 3, we had a little challenge because people don't like having their blood taken. And that one required a blood sugar and a blood glucose test. But we put a call out. People responded, and we were able to get all of those that were in the survey to continue. So we were able to successfully complete stage 3, which was a big accomplishment because in 2012, we weren't able to do step 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, huge congrats then. Yes.
And so we were able to get that data. So we were able to complete the data and have a really good understanding of where we are now in comparison to 2012. And no shocker there. Unfortunately, we haven't improved a whole lot since 2012. We haven't gotten a whole lot worse, but we haven't done a lot to get better.
Like we haven't gotten healthier.
Correct.
No, definitely not. And I wasn't living here during the STEP survey, but I get the fruit of the labor because I get to look at all the data and then try to make policy and decisions to try to improve the health of the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in this data, and we're really blessed, as she mentioned, and have this data because from data we can make policies and inform policies based on what's happening versus I think we have a lot of high blood pressure. We know what we have. We know what our statistics are. So that's been huge.
And it helps us then have a goal for, okay, we want to actually reduce this by 50% and get to 70% people controlled on with their blood pressure. And so that's really, we can then do the survey again in 10 years from 2023 and be able to see if we've made progress.
All right. We can form some sort of a roadmap to healthy living, hopefully.
Yeah.
What else is really useful is what it also looked at was what are our risk factors for it. So now not only do we know what it is, what we're doing in regards to kind of our numbers in regards to these things, we also understand more about our risk factors for it. So there are 5 particular risk factors that we kind of pull out and look at, which is activity or inactivity for that reason, unhealthy diet, uncontrolled high blood pressure, or other cardiovascular kind of or metabolic diseases, alcohol, and tobacco. So those 5 things are 5 risk factors that if we can decrease them, we actually have a good chance of not getting that non-communicable disease.
What about environment? How much does your environment is considered a risk factor, I guess?
Well, I guess depending on what you think about environment, all of those things fit in our environment. If we are busy working and driving and we're never getting any walking, we're inactive. If we are hanging with our friends and drinking every weekend, then we're affecting alcohol and we're not going to be healthy. If we smoke a lot, even vaping, it's not healthy for us. So those are all things in our environment that are affecting us. And those are all things we can control in our environment as to that. And then also our medication, managing if we have, gotten diabetes or high blood pressure, are we actually treating it properly, keeping it controlled? Because if uncontrolled diabetes or high blood pressure is going to cause kidney and other diseases later on in life. So environment, yes, it does look at all those things because these are all things that we can affect in our environment to help us be healthier.
And I think you're getting at the issue of what is a non-communicable disease.
Yes.
Felicia mentioned that, in terms of, excuse me, in terms of being able to not transmit it from person to person is definitely a portion of it. But it's also, there's some genetic components, there's environmental components as we've discussed, and then there's physiological components that you can actually change. And so trying to focus, the genetics you can't necessarily change, but you can change your environment and your physical activity and some of those components. And so trying to focus on those factors are really important. It's a chronic disease. Often it's slow progressing, and it's important to then be able to get diagnosed, get treated, and engage in healthy behavior.
And you were just about to tell me more, I think, a little bit about what exactly a non-communicable disease is. Yeah. I've had to learn this phrase over the past couple of years here.
So it's a medical condition or chronic disease that is usually slow progressing. I think the other thing that is really important with a lot of the non-communicable diseases is that sometimes they're asymptomatic. You don't know you have them until something bad happens. And so that's why it's sort of like, it can be sort of like a silent killer because you think you're doing fine. You're not going to the doctor. You're not getting your blood checked. You're not getting your vitals checked. And then you have a heart attack. And so what we want to do is prevent that from happening and use medication, exercise, healthy habits to really reduce that.
And is it more non-viral and
So yeah, you
bacteria?
can't transmit
caused?
it at all. It's not bacterial. It's not viral. It's a chronic condition.
Why did the ministry decide to have this survey? I know, Felicia, you mentioned it's every 10 years or so that this kind of survey is done, so we can have an idea, a picture of what the nation's health really is, right?
So basically, at the end of the day, the Ministry of Health's main objective is to ensure the health of the population, point blank. How do you ensure the health of the population when you don't know what you're dealing with? The STEPS data, it also touched a bit on cancer because cancer is also a non-communicable disease. And so getting some statistics on what that looks like in regards to looking at our national ESO survey as well that says that cardiovascular disease is the number one cause of death in the Cayman Islands. We needed more information around that. What does that look like? We needed information about what are the people's risk factors, how many people are engaging in these things, are these things that we can target and address as a nation to ensure that we have a healthier population. But we couldn't do that without the data. Or a lot of times in the past, what we would do is be like, oh, in Bermuda, this is what they're doing, and then we're going to do it. But that doesn't mean that's what we need because we wouldn't know what it is that where our hurdles are as a population to look at addressing. And so going back to those 5 risk factors, these are the things that highlighted in us, for us, these are the things that we see that aren't happening. So we learned that 70% of our population is obese.
Right.
Obese or overweight. Obese or overweight. And so that's a huge number to try and curve, Huge number.
Shocking number.
Yeah. And so that's the kind of data that we needed so that then we can say, okay, let's take it one step further. Out of that 70% of people that are obese or overweight, how are they doing on activity? Are they inactive? What type of activity? Are they doing vigorous activities? And so the STEPS data really does give us a lot of information to help us to understand from a government standpoint, what is it we need to be doing, even around smoking and vaping. And we're going to talk about that later in a couple of weeks. But it tells us what is the percentage of people engaging in that activity. That is a risk factor. That is an environmental thing we can address, and so trying to get that data. So it's really key for our government, and this was from the past government and continued by this government and hugely supported, that we need to address based on the facts for the Cayman Islands. And that's what the STEPS data did for us. It gave us the information we need to now be armed, like knowledge is power, to know what to do and how to go about doing it.
All right, we're going to get into what exactly our focus discussion is today, which is about hypertension, high cholesterol, and cardiovascular health. We're going to get a bit of a summary about these 3 conditions, but we're going to first take a really quick commercial break and then we'll get into it.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
Samuel Osbert Bertie Ebanks, Certificate of Honor, JP, 1909 through 1996. Bertie Ebanks, like most of his contemporaries, started his working life as a seaman. Early in his career, he survived the sinking of the Vita Louise, on which he was an engineer. He became the Cayman Islands' first public health officer and sanitary inspector. Among his accomplishments were his insistence on sanitary disposal of household wastes and the immunization of the entire population against diphtheria and polio. With a budget of only £500, he eradicated the Aedes aegypti mosquito, which carries yellow fever, a feat that still baffles experts. Mr. Bertie served in the Assembly of Justices and Vestrymen as an elected member for West Bay from 1934 to 1942 and as a Justice of Peace from 1946 to 1959. He established the 4-H Club, the West Bay Cooperative Fishermen's Society, and the West Bay Reading Society and wrote a book, Cayman Emerges. In 1930, he organized the Bosun Bay Sunday School, which was the forerunner of the Bosun Bay Presbyterian Church. He was awarded the Queen's Certificate and Badge of Honor in 1976 in recognition of services rendered to his country.
Radio Cayman's historical vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
Did you know that 1 in 4 persons in Cayman has been diagnosed with raised blood pressure, or that 14% of our population do not eat any fruits or vegetables, or that 70% of Cayman's adult population is overweight or obese? The STEPS 2023 National Health Survey gives us information on the prevalence of risk factors for non-communicable diseases, such as heart and lung disease in the Cayman Islands. Your health matters. Let's step into Wellness Cayman. Learn more by logging on to gov.ky/steps.
I'm Michael Webster.
And I'm Denise Brown of Cayman Insurance Center.
Family is not the most important thing, it's everything.
We have worked with the community and their families on protecting themselves for the future.
Whether it's providing top-rated life insurance
or protecting your family's household investment.
From our family to yours, we understand and we care.
I'm Denise Brown. Call me at 814-7229.
And I'm Michael Webster at 925-5433.
We are Cayman Insurance Center,
specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services at an affordable rate. We are Michael and
Denise at Cayman Insurance Center.
Call today.
Looking for fresh, healthy food that's full of flavor? Then you've got to visit Kirk Market. Our dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients. Enjoy vibrant mixed greens or satisfying pasta salads. Or try one of our delicious grill options like blackened chicken, spicy beef steak, or grilled salmon. Looking for something light and flavorful? We've got sushi rolls and poke bowls prepared daily. And don't forget to explore a hot bar or Billy Fresh salad at the salad bar. Stop by Kirk Market today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and taste the difference. Eat well, live well with Kirk Market.
Happy 50th anniversary, Radio Cayman. I remember as a kid listening to the children's program, the lady would ask, "Do you know what the sound is?" And as a kid, I would say out loud, "It's a trumpet." And in response, on Radio Cayman, the lady would say, "Of course, it's a trumpet." And I was so amazed that the radio could hear me. And this is one of the most favorite childhood memory that I have. Thank you for keeping us entertained, and we love you.
The Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller.
Welcome back to The Buzz. I'm your host, Kathy Miller, and we are talking all about the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey. And in studio with me, I have Chief Medical Officer Dr. Hilary Wolf and Chief Nursing Officer Felicia McLean. Now, I had mentioned that we're going to be getting into the focus topic of today's discussion, which is about hypertension, high cholesterol, and cardiovascular health. If you could briefly explain exactly what these three conditions are.
Sure, happy to. So I'll start with hypertension. So that is a measure of your blood pressure. And what basically when your blood pressure is too high, so if it's above 140 or over 90. And so those two numbers, the first number, 140, would be your systolic blood pressure. And that's basically when your heart beats and the blood rushes through your vessels. And then the diastolic, the bottom number, is when your blood vessels relax in between the beats. And so when that number is too high, then you have hypertension. In terms of cholesterol, it's basically cholesterol is a fat-like molecule. We call it sometimes a lipid. There's different types of cholesterol. There's an HDL cholesterol and an LDL cholesterol. We consider the LDL cholesterol the bad cholesterol, and that we don't want that to be high. The HDL cholesterol actually is a protective factor and kind of helps reduce the cholesterols from forming plaque in the arteries, and so we like that to be high. And that one, if it's too low, it actually can cause problems. But the LDL, reason we care so much about cholesterol is because it can leave plaques in the arteries that then can lead to heart disease, stroke, heart attack. And so we want to reduce the amount of plaque in the arteries to make sure that we prevent those diseases. In terms of the numbers, so ideally we don't want cholesterol to be greater than 200. And we would like the HDL to be above 50, and we'd like the LDL to be below 100.
Okay. And then I think the last one was cardiovascular health.
Yeah, so it's a broad term in terms of just how your heart health, making sure that we prevent against heart attacks, strokes. If we have chest pain, that we address it and make sure that it's not something very concerning.
Okay. We're going to start with hypertension. How does hypertension develop?
Yet again, going back to those risk factors, as she said, not taking care of ourselves, not exercising properly, not eating properly, too much salt in our diet, all of those things affect our health in general. And over time, we can see that raised blood pressure rising. Stress is also another one of those things that target that. What we did find from the STEPS data is 1 in 4 residents, which is 25% of the Cayman Islands, reports that there have been diagnosed with raised blood pressure. 1 in 4. So if you're sitting here and if there's one more person with us, we've got 4, one of us would be diagnosed with high blood pressure, which is a huge, huge number, 25% of your population, with something that can be preventable for the most part. Like, reducing those non-communicable disease, those risk factors in your life. Like you said, we were talking a little bit in the break about exercise. By just being active, we can reduce that. So 1 in 4 of something we could reduce to even less, which would be amazing. What we also saw with that is that it's higher among those aged 45 to 69. So yet again, ticking that box for us. So that's at 39%.
Do you think it's because we might feel a lot more of life's stresses in those ages?
For sure. I mean, I can speak for myself. I can't speak for everyone else. But I mean, the busyness of life in general doesn't leave us a lot of time for self-care. For me, I've got kids, and then you've got work, and you've got a husband. All these things take up your time, and you're trying to split your time to care for yourself, i.e. exercise, eat well. The kids like junk. I mean, my son always wants to go by Burger King. I've gotten to the point where I don't indulge, but I still indulge him sometimes because, he's a growing boy, and I'm like, okay, fine, I'll give in because you're starving. But in general, we're in that age category where just life is busy.
It's also a chronic disease, and so over time, as you get older, things get worse, like most things. And so
we're not calling it old age.
Yeah. The older you are, the more likely you are to have chronic disease, and the aging population in general needs more health care. And so that's why we see it. Also, I think just to note, it's exercise, healthy diet, not smoking, not drinking can help and are factors. But there is also genetic components that lead to high blood pressure that, you can be a very healthy person and still have high blood pressure. So there's multi-factors that lead to it. Now,
often, if I'm talking to a friend, could be a colleague even, and an event happens, something that just really could irritate us, or it's a very stressful event, and I'm sure we've all heard somebody say, as I have, that just shot my blood pressure went up. It went right up, and I just got really worked up there. So how do we know when it's not just like a one-off event like that's causing hypertension?
I mean, a great question. And I mean, I think that's more of a figure of speech for sure, for the most part. But that's where we go back to Dr. Wolf was saying earlier about knowing our numbers, in the sense of it's that silent thing. You don't really know. You might get a headache. You might, like I said, it's a slow progression sometimes of, ill health that's leading to having that slightly higher blood pressure. And if we're not going to the doctor, if we're not getting wellness checks, then we don't even know until we have that heart attack. Or until you end up in the emergency room because you passed out because your pressure is so very high. And then they tell you for the first time, you've got like 200 over 100 or something like that. And it's like, what? I didn't even know. And you could have been someone exercising that's somewhat healthy, but maybe they have other risk factors or they have the genetic link. But we won't know if we're not checking. And so we even noticed that a lot of, as part of the survey, and I don't have that data in front of me, but there's a good population that aren't being seen, that aren't going to the doctor and getting checked.
Right. So I think in addition to the way it's diagnosed is 2 different readings of elevated blood pressure, not when you're super stressed or in panic, but just when you're at a relaxed state. And so that's why it's so important to go for your regular preventative visits to the doctor to be screened. And then you would know. And it's interesting that in the STEPS data, while 25% of people reported they had raised blood pressure, when we actually measured it, it was closer to 30% actually had raised blood pressure or on medication for it. And then unfortunately, the majority of those people were not controlled. So out of the 30% who had high blood pressure, only about a quarter actually were controlled on medication. Some were taking medication but not controlled. Some were not on medication at all. And so there's a huge cascade of areas where we can intervene to really improve the health of the nation.
Now, we got to go to the 8 a.m. news. I had such a great follow-up question to go right there, but we're 1 minute away, 45 seconds away. Let me see if I can ask this really quickly. For if you're not treating hypertension, which you mentioned just now that so many people aren't being treated for it, what kind of illnesses can that lead to as well?
Yeah, so that leads to cardiovascular disease, heart disease, stroke,
kidney failure or something.
Yeah, kidney failure. It's a whole range.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You don't want it, basically.
Yeah.
I definitely don't want it. We're going to go to the 8 a.m. news right now. When we get back, we're going to get into a little bit more detail about hypertension. We're going to go over cardiovascular health and high cholesterol as well.
Radio station. Radio Cayman is the voice of the Cayman Islands.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Kersley Fuller. We're getting a repeat performance of that early February cold snap. Let's touch base with National Weather Service forecaster Benjamin Harding.
Good morning. The previously mentioned cold front, which is now located east of Jamaica, will become stationary later today, bringing fairly similar weather conditions across the Cayman area throughout the remainder of the day. Very rough seas and strong winds remain the primary feature this morning as the pressure gradient across the Northwest Caribbean remains tightened. A marine watch will remain in effect until later this afternoon, with a strong wind advisory in effect through the same period, as strong gusty winds are expected to persist this morning.
Bottom line, temperatures today will get to about the mid-70s before falling to the upper 60s tonight. Make sure to stick around after the 8 a.m. news for the full weather forecast. The start date for changes to how government disciplines civil servants has been pushed a month. The Personnel Amendment Regulations 2025 were supposed to come into effect on March 1st, but new amendments published on Monday have changed the commencement date to March 31st. The 2026 amendment also repeals Section 41. That section was related to the suspending and dismissing of staff for gross misconduct involving criminal activity outside the workplace. There was also a small housekeeping matter. The updated regs also amended the section related to discipline for inadequate performance, changing the wording from unsatisfactory performance to inadequate performance. You can find the full updated Personnel Amendment Regulations 2026 online at gov.ky/publications.
It's been fantastic, beautiful people, beautiful places, great areas here to explore. Looking forward to come more often.
As you heard right here on Radio Cayman, one of the world's largest sailing cruise ships stopped by for a visit this month, popping over to Cayman Brac after a one-day stop to Grand Cayman. CAGTV's Kafara Augustin reports.
Cayman Brac is celebrating its second cruise ship visit of the year. The Windsurf, recognized as the world's largest sailing yacht, arrived with 263 passengers and 210 crew members on board, bringing a lively boost of activity to the island. The visit marks a return for the luxury vessel, which previously called on Cayman Brac in January and February 2020. Tourism officials say the 2026 stop signals renewed momentum for cruise tourism and continued confidence in Cayman Brac as a boutique destination known for authentic, community-centered experiences. Passengers received a warm island welcome. The Cayman Brac Heritage House hosted a vibrant craft and vendor market featuring handmade local products, while the Department of District Administration partnered with the Cayman Islands Department of Tourism to provide visitors with information on attractions and experiences.
Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which takes us out of the newscast. I'm Karsley Fuller.
BBC News with Emily Thomas. Western leaders have been praising Ukraine's resistance on the 4th anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion. President Macron of France described Moscow's attack as a military, economic and strategic failure. President Zelensky urged his allies to maintain their support and blamed Vladimir Putin for starting the war. Analysis by the BBC shows that more than 200,000 Russian soldiers have died during the conflict. The data comes from obituaries and other publicly available sources. The actual number of dead is likely to be far higher. Japan has condemned China's decision to impose restrictions on exports to 20 major Japanese companies. A government minister said the move was intolerable. China says the measures aim to curb what it calls Japan's remilitarization and nuclear ambitions. Hong Kong has formally complained to the government of Panama for taking control of 2 ports on the Panama Canal. They'd been run by a Hong Kong-based conglomerate for more than 2 decades. Hundreds of Kenyans who say they were tricked into working in Cambodia are hoping to compel the Kenyan government to bring them home. Lawyers have told the High Court in Nairobi that the group were held in a guarded compound, forced to work long hours and tortured. Police in Uganda have arrested 2 women for kissing in public under the country's harsh anti-homosexuality laws. The women, who were in their 20s, were detained in the city of Arua after a complaint by neighbours. Retailers in parts of Britain say the theft of chocolate from supermarkets and convenience stores is out of control. Some shops now lock chocolate bars in transparent plastic boxes to make stealing them more difficult. They say the products are being resold to raise money for organised crime. And that's the latest world news from the BBC.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Craving something bold, juicy, and packed with flavor? Introducing KFC's new crispy barbecue sandwich served on a soft, buttery brioche bun. That's 100% KFC premium chicken breast, perfectly crispy, deliciously smoky with crispy onions, cheddar cheese, and barbecue sauce. Just the right amount of messy in the best way possible. Stacked with layers of bold KFC flavor, this sandwich is your new obsession. But hurry, it's only at KFC for a limited time. So what are you waiting for? Get yours today at any of the 3 KFC locations on island. KFC, finger licking good, just got bolder.
Radio Cayman News.
That is marking the passing of a former MP with the ceremonial lowering of the Cayman Islands
flag. We said from the beginning we are serious about improving the infrastructure in West Bay.
The agriculture show is always something I look forward to every year. All locally made here in the Cayman Islands. Very busy. It's going good.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
7 days a week. The 8 a.m. weather update brought to you by CG Britcade, where people come first.
Pleasant good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 69 degrees. Relative humidity is 60%. The barometric pressure is 30.12 inches and rising. The wind is out of the northeast at 13 knots, gusting to 25 knots. Overnight low temperature was a cool 67 degrees. Synopses indicate the previously mentioned cold front, now located east of Jamaica, will become stationary later today, bringing fairly similar weather conditions across the Cayman area through the remainder of the day. Very rough seas and strong winds remain the primary feature this morning as the pressure gradient over the northwest Caribbean remains tightened. A marine watch will remain in effect until later this afternoon, with a strong wind advisory in effect through the same period, as strong gusty winds are expected to persist this morning. Radar imagery show localized band of showers west of Little Cayman moving towards the south. Now the forecast for the Cayman Islands for today, calling for occasionally cloudy skies. Temperatures will rise to the mid-70s. Winds will be north to northeast at 20 to 25 knots with higher gusts this morning, decreasing and becoming 15 to 20 knots with higher gusts by the afternoon. Seas rough to very rough with wave heights of 8 to 10 feet, gradually subsiding rough 6 to 8 feet later this afternoon. Swells are expected along the northern and western coast. A marine watch will remain in effect and be downgraded to an alert this afternoon. The strong wind advisory will be discontinued in the afternoon. Now the forecast for tonight calling for occasionally cloudy skies, temperatures dipping to the upper 60s tonight. Your winds will be northeast at 15 to 20 knots with higher gusts, and seas will be rough with wave heights of 5 to 7 feet. Swells are expected along the northern coast and likely western coast until midnight tonight. A small craft advisory will be in effect for tonight. Low tide will be this morning at 10:28, high tide this afternoon at a minute after 3, and a low tide again tonight at 10:15. The sun will set this evening at 6:28 and will rise tomorrow morning at 6:48. And the outlook is calling for a gradual decrease in winds and seas through tomorrow as the associated high-pressure system begins to shift into the western Atlantic Ocean. A small craft advisory will remain in effect until Thursday morning. And that's the very latest on your weather report.
If you have an objection to this marriage, speak now or forever hold your...
Don't do it, Tevin! I still love you. I have since the day we stole your mom's car and got matching dolphin tattoos.
Oh, Lordy. Janelle? From spring break 08?
Yes, it's me.
Janelle, you've got to move on.
We're like the wedding guest that doesn't ruin the ceremony. CG Britke. Good like that.
The 8 a.m. weather update brought to you by
CG Britke, where people come first. For the Health of It, heard on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. and repeated on Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. Brought to you by UHealth International, University of Miami Health System. International patients go to UHealth International for consultations with renowned physicians, advanced treatment technologies, leading-edge medical therapies, and state-of-the-art surgical procedures. Whatever your particular reason for going to UHealth International, you will receive customized medical care delivered within a compassionate, multicultural setting. The care you need when you need it.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Enjoy a delicious start to your day with breakfast from Subway.
Top of the morning, let's check in with traffic, see what's slowing, what's flowing. 2 cruise ships in the Sponsor area. Traffic is heavy coming from the east on Shamrock Road and Rex Creighton Boulevard. Lots of patience needed this morning as there's going to be a lot of delays. Also heavy traffic on Crew Road heading to Georgetown. Coming off of Bobby Thompson Way, steady traffic as well as Agnes Way. On the Linford Pearson Highway, traffic is steady and a moderate flow of traffic on Godfrey Nixon Way and Eastern Avenue. Heading towards the Industrial Park area, expect moderate flow of traffic. Coming off of the Esley Tibbetts Highway, traffic is moving at a moderate pace. Owen Roberts Drive, no issues there as traffic is light to moderate. Shedden Road moving at a moderate pace in both directions. Turning our attention to the West Bay Road area. In front of the Ritz, traffic is moving moderate in both directions. If you see any other accidents, let us know by calling us at 949-6990. That's what's happening on your roads. Join us again at about 10 minutes past 12. We'll give you another look at traffic. Remember, click it or ticket.
Did you know ordering your favorite sandwich from Subway just got easier? Yeah, picture this. No more waiting in line. No more fussing with cash. Just a delicious taste of Subway at your fingertips. With our new app, ordering your go-to sub is as easy as a few taps on your phone. Plus, receive exclusive deals and earn loyalty points with every purchase made on the app. Download the new Subway app today and get ready to ditch the lines and drive straight into your flavor. Visit the App Store or Google Play Store on your mobile phone and search for Subway Cayman Islands. Subway. Eat fresh.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Enjoy a delicious start to your day with breakfast from Subway.
The Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller.
Welcome back to The Buzz. I'm your host, Kathy Miller, and we are talking about the 2023 STEPS National Health Survey. And in the studio with me, I have Chief Medical Officer Dr. Hilary Wolf and Chief Nursing Officer Felicia McLean. We got into what the background of the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey was all about. The report has been published, I believe, on the Ministry of Health's website since, I'm going to say, December 2024. I could be wrong.
Yep.
But, you know.
And I just want to tell people, it's like you said, it's published, but okay, where do I get it? You don't even have to know how to get to the Ministry of Health government page. Simply in Google search, type in STEPS Cayman Islands. Even if you just say STEPS Cayman Islands, it'll take you to our page, and you can click the link and then you can download it. And I would encourage everyone to take a look at that. Take the time, click the link. There's lots of information, but there's lots of infographics as well. So even if you didn't want to read through everything, you can get a quick sneak peek of the infographic that shows you the highlighted points in regards to all of the non-communicable diseases we were tracking, all of the risk factors that we are looking at. It's very, very informative, and I encourage everyone, just type in STEPS Cayman Islands. And if they can remember 2023, great. If not, STEPS Cayman Islands, you will get there.
You will get there. And this is the first time that we are actually talking about, at least on The Buzz, that I'm discussing about this report. And I'm quite happy because this is an in-depth series that we're doing. And this is the first of our in-depth series every Tuesday morning for the next 5 weeks at least. So we were talking about hypertension a little bit, and we'd mentioned some of those figures. And one of them was a third of the people that have been diagnosed with raised blood pressure there's a third of people with raised blood pressure that are undiagnosed. So that's a lot of people walking around and not knowing that they have hypertension. Why do you think so many people are unaware? What are the symptoms? Or is it one of those silent asymptomatic diseases?
You hit the nail on the head there. There aren't symptoms when you have elevated blood pressure, but it's not like skyrocket 180 over 100. Then you have no idea that you have high blood pressure. You just walk around and you feel fine, but we don't know what's actually going on inside your body where it could actually be causing damage to your heart.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you just wouldn't know. And I mean, I don't know how many of you guys have seen it, but I think part of an initiative before I joined the ministry and I'm not sure exactly who owned it, so it's not necessarily a ministry thing, but there's a blood pressure cuff like at Foster's. There's a blood pressure cuff in the government admin building. There are several around the island that they put there that you can just go at HC. You don't even have to see the doctor. You can go sit down, put your arm in the little machine. It'll take your pressure. I think the kids like to play with it the most, unfortunately, But we were trying. The reason that people are trying to do that is that know your numbers. When they have those free healthcare stuff in the setup, and you see them at Foster's or you see them somewhere, take advantage of it. I will touch on the fact that we are aware within the ministry and the government at large, and we heard it when we were doing the budget, that the health insurance isn't quite doing what we need it to do at this point in time in regards to preventative care, and so we are looking at that as well. But in the meantime, you don't even have to wait. There are ways to be able to get your blood pressure tested for free. And we encourage people to take advantage of those things. This is how you work towards preventing this happening to you, is by knowing your numbers. And if you've never gotten it tested, you wouldn't know. And then unfortunately, it gets really high. You might get a headache. You might feel a bit tired. But those are things that you can get just because you had a bad day. So you might chuck it off of, oh, well, I didn't sleep well last night, or, oh, and you don't go get it checked out and you don't know. So we do encourage people to try and know their numbers more, because we did see that was a concern as well.
So me getting in the car and it's crazy traffic and just being irate automatically, that doesn't mean I have hypertension.
No.
Right. That's a great thing for me then. I just have road rage. Okay, all right. So hypertension is one of those asymptomatic diseases. Is there, because you mentioned that there could be a couple symptoms, like if you're tired. I think you mentioned a headache previously before a break. Is there anything people could be looking out for hypertension?
I think knowing if you have family history of high blood pressure, if you're overweight, you're at higher risk. If you drink a large amount of alcohol, you're at higher risk. If you smoke. So I think also keeping in mind what your risk factors are, and then that giving you an idea that maybe you should get checked. But really, the symptoms only arise when things are really bad. And so that's why it's so important just to check. It's really easy. I mean, blood pressure takes minutes.
Yeah, nothing at all. And treatment for it, does it have to be lifelong? Does it have to be medication?
So it depends. It depends on what your numbers are. Depending on how high they are, we may start with diet and exercise, reducing risk factors. If not, then you may need to take medication. It's a pretty affordable, like 1 pill a day type medication. But you probably, if you need the medication, you probably do need to take it for most of your life, unless you lose a lot of weight or, things change. But if things stay steady state, then you would need to take that medicine.
If you don't make those changes in your life, you're likely going to have to take
But
medication.
prevention is better than cure.
Yeah.
So I like to look at my hand, and I don't know if you guys, if for those watching on YouTube might see, I look at that hand, those 5 risk factors. If we target those 5 risk factors, we target inactivity, we target health, eating poorly, we target knowing our numbers, because like I said, if we know them early, then we can address them. If we don't know them, then that's another issue. If we're smoking a lot or if we're drinking a lot, those 5 things, you can change that risk factor. And the sooner that you're aware that your blood pressure is a bit raised, the sooner you can affect that, the likelihood of potentially maybe not needing the medication if you caught it early. If you've caught it and it's been going on for a long time and you have other things that are happening, i.e. maybe your vision isn't as well now because you've had high blood pressure for so long, it's affecting your vision. Then more things are set in and you do then need to be on the medication, because if your pressure stays high, it increases those things of the kidney failure and other long-term neuropathy in the legs. So like, poor feeling in the feet and the diabetes, all of those things increase because it hasn't been controlled for so long, and then you do end up needing to stay potentially on it for life to manage it. But if we know early that it's starting to go a little high, it doesn't look quite great, and we're not exercising or we're eating badly or we drink or smoke a lot, we can tailor those and become healthier to give ourselves a better chance of not getting the disease.
The report also says that there's nearly 1/3 of adults have raised blood pressure or are on medication, right? So is this a crisis, or is that consistent with global trends?
That's a good question. I was actually looking at some of the WHO data last night, and I think it is consistent with some of the lower to middle income countries. However, that's not what Cayman Islands is. And when you compare to the higher income countries, I think they've controlled blood pressure a lot better than we have.
Which interesting. We have one of the highest GDPs in the world. So yeah, interesting. There's also undiagnosed hypertension being significantly higher in men and younger adults. What do you think explains that gap? Is it the age-old men aren't as concerned with getting checked out from the doctors, or?
Yeah, I think somewhere in there you'll see as well that the men were less likely to go get seen than the women were. But, it's still just in general, not paying attention to those risk factors, not necessarily taking it on, not getting it checked, not knowing, and then being diagnosed with it after the fact.
I think also, young people, they're not necessarily thinking about chronic disease or health problems. They're out living their lives and think they're invincible, and so wouldn't even know to go get their blood pressure checked.
And there's stage 2 hypertension, right?
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit about that? What is that? How do we know what stage 2 is when we get there?
Exactly. So there's different levels of how high your blood pressure can be. So in stage 1, it's greater than 140 over 90. And stage 2, we get up to 160 over 100.
Okay, and what are our healthy markers that we should be looking at? And I guess the moderate and, okay, these are dangerous markers.
In terms of markers in terms
for your blood pressure.
Oh.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think it goes back to the need to take your blood pressure. If you have high blood pressure and you're taking medication, we recommend that you have a self machine at home where you can check your blood pressure so you have a sense of what your numbers are. And if it's getting too high and you're still on medication, then you need to go back to the doctor and you might need additional medication.
Okay, and was it 140 is considered really, really high?
140 would be stage 1. I will say that that's the WHO guidance, and that's what the guidance is that we use for the STEP survey. But in the U.S., we actually consider high blood pressure to be 130 over 80, and so because they've shown even risk factors with mildly high blood pressure, especially if you have kidney disease or diabetes or another comorbidity that could cause more problems.
Okay. What can untreated hypertension lead to? And we touched on that a little bit earlier.
I mean, it can lead to all. It can increase your chances for diabetes. It can increase the chances of a stroke, a heart attack. It increases your chances of kidney disease. We have a lot of renal failure in the Cayman Islands as well. It's another raised one in that regard. That links a lot to diabetes as well. But any one of those getting any one of them increases the chances of other ones coming. Stroke, yeah.
I feel like I know somebody who's gone through that. All of them that you've just mentioned with
it's pretty
renal
common.
disease, stroke, it's diabetes. It's very scary when you see the domino effect of what illness can do to people. It's completely scary.
Well, and I mean, cardiovascular disease is the number one killer in the Cayman Islands and in most developed countries. I think from the STEPS data or from the mortality data, it was about 27% of people die from cardiovascular disease in the island. So I think really this is such an important area that we need to address.
All right. We're going to get into cardiovascular disease in a few minutes here, but first we're going to turn on cholesterol. 1 in 3 people have never had their cholesterol measured in the Cayman Islands. That was crazy to me. Is that a systems issue, a public awareness issue, or, something else?
I think it goes back to just people not going to the doctor and getting the wellness checks. We don't tend to value preventative care enough, unfortunately.
1 in 3 seems really crazy because that's a basic thing that doctors check for.
But if you're only going to the doctor when you're sick, they're not necessarily checking your cholesterol. They're dealing with the cold, the illness, the issue that you're coming for. So if you never go just for a preventative visit to check your overall health, get your cancer screening, get your cholesterol checked, then you wouldn't necessarily get it checked.
Or an annual regular checkup.
Exactly.
And truth be told, we have a lot of, remember, this is looking at people in the Cayman Islands, not just Caymanians. This is just people that are here. And a lot of them are on the SHIC plan. And so can they afford the blood tests? It may be something like she said, they go for when they're sick because they don't have a lot of extra funds and they don't necessarily have an amazing insurance plan. And so so that's something we're looking at as well. Like, what are those risk factors in regards to that? And I said it's on the agenda when we're looking into it because that could be the reason why they're not getting the other test. They've used it because they've broken their ankle. They used it because they had a cold, and they've used up their outpatient benefit on those. And when it comes around, well, your pressure's a bit high, could we do this test? They're asking what it costs before they say yes.
That's true. I do that.
Yeah. It's also a message to clinicians that if someone's, because of the way that the lack of preventative care that we have on the island, that if someone's coming in for a sick visit and you're drawing blood anyways and they have insurance that would cover it or they're willing to pay for it, that then they could add that on to the blood test.
Okay. Can you break down, and you touched on it a little bit, so there's good cholesterol, there's bad cholesterol, and total cholesterol.
Yes.
So can you break down what is good, bad, and total? Again, the markers that we should be looking at to stay within acceptable ranges of good, bad, and the total cholesterol.
Sure. So there's a healthy heart phase of cholesterol, there's at risk, and then there's dangerous. And I'll start with just total cholesterol. I think healthy heart is having a total cholesterol under 200. Then you get to be a bit more at risk when you get to 200 to 239, and then if your total cholesterol is 240 or higher, that's sort of the danger zone, and that's where you likely would need a lot of diet and exercise modifications and possibly medication. The at-risk zone is really when you want to focus on the diet and exercise component. Then in terms of the bad cholesterol, or LDL, so healthy heart is LDL cholesterol less than 100. Once you get to be about 100 to 159, you're more at risk, and then greater than 160, that's sort of the danger zone. And we mentioned good cholesterol actually can help remove the plaques, but if it's too low, it actually can cause problems. And so that would be healthy heart is 60 and above. So it's a little bit different for men or women, but 60 and above is great. Anywhere between 50 and 59, you're more at risk, and then below 50 for females or below 40 for men is danger zone.
Okay, so among young adults diagnosed with high cholesterol, only 6.9% are taking medication. And young adults, I believe, is the range, I'm going to say, I think 18 to 44, because apparently as a 45-year-old, I'm no longer in the young adults category. I'm in the next one.
You're not alone.
I have been diagnosed with high cholesterol, and when they told me, I was like, okay, and I was like, I guess I'll just have more vegetables. I was a little shocked and like, what do you mean I have high cholesterol? Like, I just don't understand how that could have happened. And I am one of those people, not in the young adult category, but that did not take the medication prescription. I won't take it. And I'm like, I think I can do this in changing my eating habits. So, sometimes you think you know better when I don't know better than any doctor or healthcare practitioner.
You're not alone. I mean, I've been watching mine for forever as well.
Same.
Mine hasn't required medication, thankfully, but there are diet things that you can do to help to reduce it. There are exercises that you can do to help to reduce it. And we just keep a close eye on it and just be mindful of it, because we also don't want to need it and then have that high cholesterol, have the plaque build up, and then have that heart attack because it isn't being managed. So if you are one of those people, like the three of us in the room that are watching it or have been diagnosed, then you need to then even more diligently have it checked and monitored and know where you're at, because you're not going to see a symptom necessarily that there's more plaque inside of your body. You're not going to look at that and feel that and understand it. You won't know. You won't know. So you definitely want to pay attention. You want to know your numbers. And I mean, we all need to be eating healthy anyway. Like I said, it's one of these 5 things. We need to eat more fiber, more fruits and vegetables in that regards. So we need to watch our diet. We need to get active. We need to move and be intentional about it, because that helps our body stay healthier.
Yeah. Less fat, less fried. That's the other thing we talked about environment in the Cayman Islands. The diet definitely affects it. So there's a cultural component there where there's
Cayman style beef.
Fried.
We're guilty.
And so that definitely impacts the results. I think what I will say is, I think if you're diagnosed with high cholesterol, depending on how high it is, giving a trial of diet and exercise for 3 months to 6 months. And then, if you aren't able to make those changes, or if you make the changes, but it's your cholesterol then is rechecked and it's still high, there's also a lot of genetic components that lead to high cholesterol. And so there's some people can be the healthiest of healthiest and still have high cholesterol. And that's when really medication would need to come in. I will say the medication is quite effective, and it's really actually multiple studies have shown how it has saved lives basically by preventing heart attacks. It's a class of medications called the statins. They don't have a ton of side effects. You have to be under the monitoring of a doctor, but I don't want people to think that going on medicine is the worst thing that could happen to them. It actually could really save your life.
I got a question for you about that when we come back. We've got to take a quick commercial break right now.
The results are in. 11% of Cayman's population have been previously diagnosed with raised blood sugar or diabetes, and as many as 50% of all persons living with diabetes in Cayman have never had a foot exam. The STEPS 2023 National Health Survey gives us information on the prevalence of risk factors for non-communicable diseases such as diabetes. Your health matters. Let's step into wellness, Cayman. Learn more by logging on to gov.ky/steps.
Looking for fresh, healthy food that's full of flavor? Then you've got to visit Kirk Market. Our dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients. Enjoy vibrant mixed greens or satisfying pasta salads. Or try one of our delicious grill options like blackened chicken, spicy beef steak, or grilled salmon. Looking for something light and flavorful? We've got sushi rolls and poke bowls prepared daily. And don't forget to explore a hot bar or Billy Fresh salad at the salad bar. Stop by Kirk Market today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and taste the difference. Eat well, live well with Kirk Market.
Sports. Stay up to date on your sports news with Radio Cayman Monday through Friday at 7 a.m., 6 p.m., and 10 p.m. It's all about sports.
The Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller.
Welcome back to The Buzz. I'm your host, Kathy Miller. We are talking about the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey. And in studio with me, I have Chief Medical Officer Dr. Hilary Wolf and Chief Nursing Officer Felicia McLean. Now, Dr. Wolf, my question for you is, because, I didn't take my high cholesterol medication. And in talking to one of my friends she likes to take a lot of natural supplements, and she used to work at a health store that sold this. So when I was telling her a little bit about some of my test results that I had gotten on an annual, she said, "Oh, Kathy, I think you should take," and she suggested to me what I should take. And so I have it. I bought it. I just, also don't take that. I just stare at things in my cupboard. So are there ways to lower cholesterol without taking medication?
Definitely. I think, as we've said, diet and exercise are key to lowering cholesterol. I think in terms of the supplements, you have to be careful. There's certain things that could possibly help, but it's really important that you share those ingredients, all of the ingredients on the back of that bottle, with your doctor to better understand what is actually in it, because it might say there's one thing in it, that's the main substance, but then when you look at the ingredients list, there's like 50 things listed, and they could actually be causing you harm. And so making sure that, I think an example would be some of those substances can be like a blood thinner. And so someone who could be easily bruising or be at high risk for stroke is actually taking something that is hurting them. And so just making sure, I think there's this idea that, well, if it's natural, then it's better. But the thing that you have to keep into consideration is that they're not regulated, those supplements. Whereas, medication that you're prescribed by the doctor, that's a regulated medication by a federal agency. And so there's pros and cons to that in terms of, being able to actually know exactly what's in a pill versus something that anyone can put anything in it.
Okay, that's great advice right there. Thank you. And I might tell you what that supplement is that I don't take after the show.
But you're not taking it, so I think you're okay anyway.
But I keep looking at it. Well, I just did another blood panel yesterday, actually, so I'll get a whole other results back.
If you've made a difference with your diet and exercise. Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah. I will say I had slightly elevated cholesterol and I lost weight, and it definitely went down.
Oh, good, because I lost some weight this year. So but the same thing will happen for me. Yeah. I hope so. Okay. Do other health conditions increase your chances of having high cholesterol? And does high cholesterol lead to other diseases?
Yeah, I think we spoke earlier that they're all connected. And when you get one, then it puts you at risk for the next one. And then your risk factors for even your first one goes up, because if you have raised blood pressure and you also have diabetes, well, your chances, yet again, you're getting 2 out of that 3. And I think our survey also showed, if I can find it quickly, that nearly 2/3 of the population, which is 63%, have one or two of the risk factors associated with it, and 1/3 have 3 out of the 5 risk factors. So we know that we're not living our healthiest. That there's a huge part of the population that's at risk with just the risk factors. And similarly, so we can see when you look at dive into the data a bit more, you can see that we have high blood pressure and diabetes kind of coexisting together. So they do tend to add on. Once that ill health starts, you're more at risk for more ill health.
And it's cumulative, right? So if you have high cholesterol and you have hypertension, then your risk for stroke and heart attacks is even higher, because those things working together can cause more trouble. So that's why, and the same with diabetes. And so that's why just trying to, luckily, the environmental changes, the behavioral changes that you do will affect all high cholesterol, heart disease, and hypertension. So you're killing 3 birds with 1 stone.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully. And it's kind of scary when you describe it, because like another disease could be partnered with it or come with it. I think there's a term you used that I'm not...
Comorbidity.
Yeah, comorbidities. I'm not as familiar with that term.
Morbidity is like a ill health. And so is like when something's coming together.
Okay.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a very terrible... I don't know if I want to say premonition that I've heard when I moved here, which is that centipedes travel in pairs. So every time I see a centipede, I think there's another centipede around, and it freaks me out. So
Never heard that. That's going to start my life now.
You haven't heard this?
Never heard that.
I've never heard that either.
It is Caymanians who taught me this, Felicia. I can't believe you haven't heard that.
I've never heard that.
I'm so sorry for everybody else who now I put this horrible thought in their head, but it's always been in my head. Apparently, this is what it is, that they travel in pairs. So I think about these very, very common diseases right here. So with hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and when high cholesterol, that if you're going to get one, it is your likelihood of getting another disease is much, much, much greater.
Correct. Yeah. And that's why, yet again, we have to know our numbers. We have to take our health serious. Our health matters. We all want to live long, healthy lives. And we've developed in an environment where we have understandings and we have medications, we have the knowledge, but it's no good to us if we're not using it. If we choose to ignore the fact to get checked to see what that's like, if we choose to ignore the fact that our weight matters, our activity matters, our diet matters, how much we smoke matters, how much we drink matters. If we just choose to say, well, I'm just living to live, these things will creep up on you. And you won't know. And by the time you do know, it could be too late. Or you end up having, like you said, more of those comorbidities. And your life expectancy will decrease.
Oh, it's so scary. So with cardiovascular health now, we haven't touched on that yet. Oh, I want to remind our listeners, or tell them, because I haven't reminded them at all. You can call in if you have some questions. We will take your calls. We got about 20 minutes left in this segment. The numbers to call are 1-800-534-8255, 949-8037, and 949-6990. You can also WhatsApp, call, or text us at 925-3261. I did get some WhatsApp messages, and I'll turn to those in a moment to read them. But we're going to turn to cardiovascular health, unless there's some more that you want to touch on when it comes to cholesterol.
I just want to give a shout out to the public health team. I actually was at the agriculture show last week, and they were there in their tent. They were checking for free blood pressure, total cholesterol, and blood sugar. So look for them at the different fairs around the islands, and you can get your numbers checked in that way as well.
It's a great, perfect, free way to do that.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. So we're going to turn to cardiovascular health. And what causes it? What are some of the symptoms or markers that we should be looking out for when it comes to cardiovascular disease, not cardiovascular health? I'm sorry.
So I think it's a lot of the areas that we've already touched on. So high cholesterol, high blood pressure, those all can lead to cardiovascular disease. And so there's those factors, but then there's also some, genetic factors as well as structural factors. If you're born with, a large heart or a hole in your heart, but I think those are less common. That really is part of the most common causes of cardiovascular disease is like buildup of plaque, or when you have high blood pressure, it actually makes your heart enlarge, which can then lead to heart attacks and cardiac arrest. And so, I think dealing with those, preventing stroke is just so important.
Okay. For our cardiovascular burden that's in here in the Cayman Islands, we said that we have, I forget what the rates were for obesity and being overweight. I think it was
70%. Yeah.
That's really crazy. So I feel like that's a really big health burden for society to deal with. When it comes to that, so if it's 70% are obese or are overweight, I mean, we can kind of see what the symptoms are there when you're gaining, weight. That's one of the big symptoms that something could be going on with your cardiovascular health there. But what are some other symptoms that people could be looking out for? Is it chest tightness?
So difficulty breathing, going up steps or walking any distance, chest pain, definitely. If you're having chest pain, you definitely need to be checked out as soon as possible. Any pain that radiates down your arm. If you're just feeling fatigued often, chronic headaches, I think is worth getting checked out for as well. I think if you're just not feeling unwell, it's really important to have an evaluation by a physician.
Okay. Now, according to the STEPS data, half of the men and over half of women have, this is going back to a different question. My bad. I was about to go back into HDL. My bad. Okay. 5.8% of the adults aged 40 to 69 have a greater than 20% predicted risk of a cardiovascular event in the next 10 years. What does a 20% risk actually mean in real life terms? Is that a really big risk?
So about 1 in 5 people have a risk of having a cardiovascular event, a heart attack or stroke or something like that. And so making sure that going back to the behaviors that we can modify, drinking large amounts of alcohol can really increase your risk, being obese, not getting physical activity, smoking, all of those 5 things that Felicia mentioned are just so important to address to try to reduce risk.
And I think when you try to understand, that a big number? Just think about it. If you have 5 friends, and you're one of the 5, or you have, 4 siblings and yourself, that one out of you has a great risk or will potentially have that. So when you think of small friend groups and it could happen within that small friend group, then that is a significant number. So it's something we definitely want to pay attention to. And the beauty is that these are, for the most part, yes, we have genetic factors and stuff like that, but for the most part, these are preventable. These are preventable. You can reduce your risk for the majority of the population. There are the few, like she said, holes in the hearts, defects in the hearts that we may not have known and we may be living with. You can't predict those ones. But there's a large portion of it that is affected by those 5 risk factors that we can address. Knowing our numbers, getting treated if we need to, eating healthy, exercising, reducing our alcohol intake. And yes, WHO actually says no number is good. That's what they like. Literally, no alcohol is good. Even though none of us in Cayman want to hear that, that's what they're actually going for. And so the other day I saw that Cayman Bay was doing this free wine, non-alcoholic wine tasting. And because it's becoming a thing, it's teaching people. There's a whole bunch of people who've recognized that that's where they want to go. And they're looking at how do you make that still a social event, but not around the amount of alcohol that we have, because it is a huge risk factor. And then smoking, tobacco, and vaping, not healthy for you and affecting that. And you're going to increase your chances. But we just need to be more mindful. We need to know the knowledge and we need to act on it, because the risk factor is there, even within the few friends that we might have. That risk, and we don't want to be that 1 in 5. We don't want to lose our friend, and we don't want us to be the one. So we need to be actively paying attention and doing what we can to bring us into better health.
And you have to start early, because as we said, these are chronic diseases and they're slow progressing. And so if you're like young and I'll be fine, I'll deal with this when I'm older. You've had all that time to build up plaque, to have your heart expand and become too big, and then when you're older, you modify your behaviors, but you still are left with that defective heart.
And it's so much harder.
Yeah.
And it's so much harder to lose the weight. Like we can speak from women's standpoint. It's much harder to lose weight in your 40s than it was to lose weight in your 30s. Your life, and as we've talked at the beginning about that busyness and all the things, when you don't have any kids and you're not eating, the junk that your kids are, you can control your eating habits better when it's just you and your husband, or your partner. And then also when you get older, you have more distractions and stuff. So when it's easy, we tend to, like she said, pass it off as it's not important. I can do that later. But those are when you really want to put those good habits in place in regards to that. And that's why we spend the time teaching our kids as well what's healthy, why we eat this way, the side effects. But because you feel good and fine, you think, I can worry about that later.
Right. Or I don't need to treat this right now, because if anybody's like me, it's like, well, I will wait till I get to the very edge of, okay, you really have to do something now, instead of you had all this room to do something. And that's just it's a mentality thing.
Human nature, like procrastination, right? To the last minute, but your body doesn't work that way. We have to deal with these bodies for our entire lives, and we have to take care of them.
Oh, I have to separate my mind and body at times and be like, Kathy, your body does not work that way. We got to take a quick commercial break right now.
Ready to launch your career in hospitality?
If you're an ambitious young Caymanian, the DART Hospitality Training Program is your opportunity to shine.
This paid 4-month program gives you hands-on experience at world-class properties like Kimpton Seafire, the Ritz-Carlton, Hotel Indigo, Hampton by Hilton, and Bonnie Moon Beach Club.
Plus, DART has partnered with Lynn University to deliver an intensive 2-week hospitality curriculum from an accredited institution.
Gain real-world experience, learn from the industry leaders, and open doors to full-time careers in hospitality.
Applications close April 6, 2026, with programs starting May 2026.
Apply now at dart.ky/hospitality.
I'm Michael Webster.
And I'm Denise Brown of Cayman Insurance Center.
Family is not the most important thing, it's everything.
We have worked with the community and their families on protecting themselves for the future.
Whether it's providing top-rated life insurance
or protecting your family's household investment.
From our family to yours, we understand and we care.
I'm Denise Brown. Call me at 814-7229.
And I'm Michael Webster at 925-5433.
We are Cayman Insurance Center.
Specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services at an affordable rate. We are Michael and
Denise at Cayman Insurance Center.
Call today.
Looking for fresh, healthy food that's full of flavor? Then you've got to visit Kirk Market. Our dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients. Enjoy vibrant mixed greens or satisfying pasta salads. Or try one of our delicious grill options like blackened chicken, spicy beef steak, or grilled salmon. Looking for something light and flavorful? We've got sushi rolls and poke bowls prepared daily. And don't forget to explore a hot bar or Billy Fresh salad at the salad bar. Stop by Kirk Market today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and taste the difference. Eat well, live well with Kirk Market.
Hey, this is DJ Len from Radio Cayman 89.9 FM. One of my favorite childhood memories was when I was a kid, sitting next to the radio and waiting for that favorite song to come on. You take out your cassette tape and you hit the record button and trying to cut it off at the right time, right before the announcer starts to speak. And then sharing that music with my mom. Happy 50th anniversary, Radio Cayman. Thanks for the great memories.
The Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller.
Good morning. Welcome back to The Buzz. We are in the final stretch, maybe about 10 minutes of this conversation as we are talking about the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey. And in studio with me, I have Chief Medical Officer Dr. Hilary Wolf and Chief Nursing Officer Felicia McLean. So we were talking about cardiovascular disease, and now we talk about heart attacks a lot. We hear a lot about heart attacks, but what about strokes? Are we seeing an increased stroke risk in Cayman as well?
Yeah, we definitely have seen an increase in strokes. I think there have been a lot of them that have gone to Hell City. There have been those that have gone off island. My very uncle passed away from a stroke as well. This is years ago, but thank you. And so we do definitely see a lot of stroke in the Cayman Islands. I don't know if Dr. Wolf can find the data on that. We'd have to look at the statistics in regards to to that, but I don't have those numbers, but I do know that I've known several who have had strokes in the Cayman Islands and continue to see that happening in our islands. So it's definitely something that has raised, I mean, even if we just look at the fact that 3.7% of the population have reported having a heart attack. So we know that they're happening, you know, and that leads to that. So we definitely need to continue to look at that because I know two friends and both of them in their, I want to say late 40s, maybe early 50s, women who've had strokes. One, she's still unable, she's not fully recovered. She's recovered, but she's now living with ailments, physical disabilities, not been able to go back to work. The other one is found another type of job that she can do and is back and functioning, but you know, it does affect them, and we have seen it. And like I said, even within my close circle, I can think of people who've had it. So I know that the risk factor is there and we're having it when it's something that we can address. But then, like I said, it's knowing your numbers and getting that wellness checks that we definitely see are not happening. And we need to do better at trying to get people checked and knowing those numbers. And the good thing is we will be doing a couple of more of those health fairs coming up in the future. So as we go through this 5-week series, you'll hear more about when those will be. And I'm going to really encourage people to take advantage of getting those. Now that we know the data, now that we know there's that risk factor, I'm hoping that if we have more of those public health wellness checks, that people will do their height, their weight, their BMIs, they'll do their cholesterol, their blood pressures, know what their sugar is, so that they can keep that little card and have an idea and then check it again at the next one and see how they're doing. And just try to be more mindful about paying attention with, you know, what's going on in their bodies.
All right. There's been a few WhatsApp messages that have come in, so I'm going to get to those messages, but I want to give some of the figures that you had mentioned when it comes to cardiovascular disease, at least. So I think one of them was 3.7% of people have reported having had a heart attack or chest pain from heart disease or a stroke. 5.8% of those, that's higher among those aged 45 to 69. And 9.7% of the population aged 45 to 69 years report taking aspirin to prevent or treat heart disease. That's a normal thing, just to take aspirin?
Yeah, it's normally a first line treatment that a lot of physicians will put you on, that if you are having that risk factor, that you would go on a low dose aspirin daily.
Okay. We had a question come in from one of the listeners saying, I know we're not talking about diabetes in this conversation today, but asked, can you give me some diabetes symptoms?
Sure. Yeah, and just make sure you tune in next week because we'll be talking all about diabetes. But if you have frequent urination, if you're just hungry all the time, those are factors that could contribute to diabetes. You should get your bloods checked.
And there's a really good one that you can check. It's called A1C, and basically it tells you how you're doing over 3 years. So you can get that spot check, which we'll have at those health centers and those health fairs, which will tell you what your sugar is right then. But if you just had your breakfast, it might be high, and that doesn't necessarily mean you have diabetes just because you've had a high blood sugar after you've eaten something. But this other blood test that you can take will tell you what your numbers are over 3 months. And that's a really good test that a lot of the doctors will order to get an idea as to if you're having that risk factor of having diabetes based on what your numbers look like over a 3-month period.
I'm very excited for us to have this conversation about diabetes as well. That'll be next Tuesday. So
Yes.
For the listener that sent in that question, thanks for the question, and I hope you tune in with us next week as well. Another comment came in saying, good morning, Kathy. One of the biggest issues in Cayman is most of the indigenous people are walking around with a trait of sickle cell. Sometimes these tests are not done unless the patient requests it. This may cause the patient to be misdiagnosed and be put on medications that affect them more. Any comment to that?
So I think what that listener is getting at is that genetically we have this risk for sickle cell disease. Basically, in order to have sickle cell disease, you would need 2 of the chromosomes to have it. And so when you're talking about trait, that means just 1. And so that's something that we don't necessarily test for on a regular basis. It is something that probably we should test for, especially at birth, and then we can be aware that you have that trait. You can also know if you have parents who have sickle cell disease, then you are more likely to have the trait as well.
All right. We do have thank you for answering that question as well. And we do have a call online. So we will take that caller. Good morning, and thank you for calling The Buzz.
Good morning, Kathy. Donna Mitchell. How are you?
I'm great, Donna. How are you doing?
Great. Really interesting to listen to your speakers today. I'm so glad you're talking about it. Kathy, we know each other. You know my business and my work in the Cayman Islands. I just want to say there's so many diagnostic things that are happening to help people find out where they are with their health. I just don't see a lot of solutions happening. As you know, I've been in Cayman for 36 years, and with each successive government, I've met with the Minister of Health, the Chief Medical Officer, about my work, including the book that I published on healthy lifestyle, which got Caymanians in it. But I never get any inroads to help the people here. And as you know, this is my specialty. So I'm listening this morning, I'm thinking, is it the same old rhetoric where we're just diagnosing people? But, you know, I remember offering to go to all of the districts in Cayman, as I did in the past, and help people create a healthier lifestyle. And I knock on the door, but the door never opens. So we have a new chief medical officer today. I would love to meet with her. I did with our past medical officer, shared what I can do, what I've done, how I know Cayman. So I thought I'd call in today to say it's so important what you're talking about. Secondly, Cayman National Bank, for example, is bringing me in tomorrow to talk about diabetes and high blood pressure. And I just want to share that there's a lot of people here to offer solutions. So rather than looking at diagnostics, maybe we need to really get some things rolling.
You're looking for some collaboration, basically. I get what you do. I understand. I appreciate that. And I know where you're coming from. So and hopefully the ladies will be able to answer your question here. But I know from what Felicia has told me that I can't reveal. I know that there's quite a lot that they're doing in.
So what I will
step
say,
into wellness.
what I did, so yeah, from the STEPS data, there is a step into wellness that is coming, which is looking at, and I'll give you guys a teaser. It's 4 elements. Physical inactivity is what we're going to challenge first, and then the healthy eating is second. Mindfulness followed by knowledge, and so there is currently an opportunity for you to partner with us on something that's coming even sooner, which is related to that physical activity. So feel free to. If they can, if you have the WhatsApp us your email, or just call and get me in. It's felicia.mclean@gov.ky. I'd love to invite you to see how you could potentially partner with us with our first initiative that's coming very soon. And this whole series is going to lead right into that. But thank you for your willingness to help the people of the Cayman Islands. Thank you for your determination and not giving up and continuing to offer opportunities to help people live healthier, better lives. That is our goal. Getting the data was only step one of this ministry and the last ministry's thing, and things are coming, and we'd love to get your help as we look at moving forward.
All right, thank you so much.
Felicia.mclean@gov.ky.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, there we go. We got the next. Thank you, Donna, for your call and for your comments, and hopefully some collaboration will happen there. We have one more comment that I can get to. It says, "Good morning, excellent subject. Perhaps the chief nursing officer may be more aware of the fact that there is a cultural aspect to being overweight. Traditionally, to be overweight was considered to quote, look good. Also, among some of us Caribbean people, there is preference among men for women to, quote, look good, meaning they are overweight. We therefore have an uphill journey out of this valley of ill health."
Yes, the chief nursing officer is definitely aware of that. I mean, I think it was a YouTube thing the other day, or maybe on Instagram, that was talking about fluffy, and there's lots of calypso songs and Caribbean songs that speak to that and in that regard. However, we don't need to mix up having curves and being within a healthy weight range.
Ooh, I love that.
So that's our goal.
That's great.
Yeah,
yes.
No one's trying to tell you to be rake thin. It's about being healthy, having muscle, and eating well. You don't have to lose tons and tons of weight. There's a healthy range.
Yes.
All right. Beautifully said. All right. We're coming to the end of our conversation. Is there anything you want people to take away from this conversation today? I know you'll be back with me next Tuesday as we tackle diabetes.
I think I would love if the callers that are called in, the people who are listening, will take the time between now and next week to look at the STEPS Cayman data on the website. Please have a look at it. Familiarize yourself with it. It's really, knowledge is power. We're going to continue to walk you through this and answer questions and guidance. But the more that you read, we might have a more, calls come in next time in regards to what they can do and what in regards to at least diabetes next time and going forward. We really are trying to help the population get healthy. That's our goal, but we won't do it if we don't know that that's a concern. And so this is just step one of informing you. And I'm going to hopefully get a lot of people next week saying, I checked it out.
Awesome. Well, hopefully that does happen. And yes, I'll open the phone lines a lot earlier next week. How's that? I forgot to do it.
And I want to challenge people to go get their blood pressure checked between now and next week. Go to Foster's. If you haven't had your blood pressure checked in the past 3 months, if you don't know what your numbers are, go ahead and give it a try.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me, both to Dr. Hilary Wolf and to Felicia McLean. I will be back talking about the 2023 Steps National Health Survey. Part 2 of our discussion is going to be on diabetes next Tuesday here on The Buzz.
Covering Little Cayman, Kim and Brad.
Cover me. Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Kirk Market and Health Services Authority.
An early morning crash leaves a van overturned on the Tomlinson roundabout by the Tim Hortons off the east-west arterial. 911 tells Radio Cayman the call came in at around 6:18 this morning. Reportedly, there were young people inside the van that had refused transport to the hospital for treatment. Police were sent to the scene and traffic was affected this morning. In international news, Robert Carradine, the U.S. actor best known for roles in Revenge of the Nerds and Lizzie McGuire, has died at the age of 71. In a statement, his family said the actor took his own life after living with bipolar disorder for nearly 2 decades. His family said they wanted to announce his cause of death to raise awareness of the, quote, stigma that is attached to mental illness. In addition to the Revenge of the Nerds series and Lizzie McGuire, he appeared in films such as Martin Scorsese's 1973 Mean Streets, Oscar-winning Coming Home alongside Jane Fonda, The Long Riders with Mark Hamill, The Big Red One in 1980, and Quentin Tarantino's Django Unchained in 2012. And U.S. President Donald Trump's new global tariffs have come into effect at 10%, despite a pledge to introduce them at a higher rate. After the Supreme Court blocked many of his sweeping import taxes on Friday, the president said he would introduce a 10% global rate. Then on Saturday, he said it would be 15%. However, according to official documents, the tariffs have been set at a lower rate from Tuesday with no directive to increase the rate issued. The BBC has contacted the White House for comment with no response yet. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
At HSA, we strive to provide the highest standard of care with compassion, integrity, and dedication. And so we say thank you, Cayman, for continuing to make us the most awarded organization on island by voting us the best of Cayman Islands in 9 medical categories. Your support reminds us why we do what we do, to serve the Cayman community with kindness and excellence. To find out more about our award-winning services, visit hsa.ky. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
Looking for fresh, healthy food that's full of flavor? Then you've got to visit Kirk Market. Our dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients. Enjoy vibrant mixed greens or satisfying pasta salads. Or try one of our delicious grill options like blackened chicken, spicy beef steak, or grilled salmon. Looking for something light and flavorful? We've got sushi rolls and poke bowls prepared daily. And don't forget to explore a hot bar or Billy Fresh salad at the salad bar. Stop by Kirk Market today for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and taste the difference. Eat well, live well with Kirk Market.
The Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller.
Good morning and welcome back to The Buzz. I'm your host, Kathy Miller, and a big thank you again to our Chief Nursing Officer, Felicia McLean, and Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Hilary Wolf, in having the very first conversation with us in an interview series that we were having every Tuesday for the next, I think it's 5 weeks here on The Buzz, 7:30 to 9 a.m. And today's discussion, we focused on some of the big info coming out of the STEP's 2023 National Health Survey as it relates to hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and high cholesterol. I want to read a couple more comments that did come in that I didn't get a chance to mention while the guests were here. So one comment came in saying, "Good morning, Miss Kathy, listening keenly to the healthcare discussion and all the great information being shared. With regard to health insurance, in my honest opinion, that is the biggest hindrance to proper health care in the Cayman Islands. It is so expensive and offers so little. We are left with those who pay their premiums and is left with hardly anything to go to the doctor with, and those who simply cannot afford the high insurance premiums. This then falls to the government via Synico. Health insurance in the Cayman Islands needs to be addressed and some controls be put in place." So that is one of the comments that came in from one of our listeners. I appreciate that comment, and we did touch a little bit on, I think it was 17% of people in Cayman are on the SHIC plan. I think that was the fact that we gave right there. I'm going to go back and find that so I can make sure it is 17%. Where it does make it very, very hard for people to keep up with their health. So yes, if you are going in and let's say you got the flu once in a year or a really, really bad cold and you go and see the doctor then for that illness and you've used up your health insurance and you really can't afford to go for anything else, it's a detriment to taking care of your health. And that's a scary thing. It's scary when health becomes available for those who can afford it. Healthcare shouldn't matter if you can afford it or not. It should be for everybody. Yes, as a Canadian, I can say that because in Canada we had free healthcare, still do. Yeah, on some occasions you do have to wait a long time. Yes, you can still buy private healthcare over there. Here in Cayman, for me, I do work for government, clearly. I do have Synico, so for me, I have great coverage in healthcare. But that's me as a civil servant here. I have to look at everybody else who isn't getting it. And man, I feel for you because I can't imagine what it's like to all of a sudden come up on an illness and something as crazy and as debilitating as, for example, cancer can be, and not having adequate insurance to pay for it. It can just cripple you in so many ways. So yes, health insurance is a big deal. Thank you to our listener for bringing that up. We don't have any other guests for this segment of the show. So if you do want to call in, share any of your thoughts, or if you have any other kind of questions, I can't answer them necessarily about the talk that we had, and our chief medical officer and chief nursing officer has left. But if you do want to call in, ask any questions, you might have some stuff about diabetes that you want to ask for next week, I've got you covered. For now, I just want to give you some quick facts that came out of the 2023 National Health Survey. And again, you can just go to Google if you're looking for the survey and you want to find out what the data is for the Cayman Islands. Just go to Google. You can Google STEPS Cayman Islands and it will take you to the link. So one of these facts, cardiovascular disease accounts for 20% of all deaths in the Cayman Islands. We did mention that a little earlier. That is, over 1/4 of the population. When it comes to the mortality rate, it is 20%. 27% is caused by cardiovascular disease. Nearly 1 in 3 adults, 29.9%, have raised blood pressure or are on a medication for it. Among adults aged 45 to 69, almost half, 47.5%, have raised blood pressure or are being treated for it. 35% of people with raised blood pressure are undiagnosed. It's a lot. Undiagnosed hypertension is significantly higher in men. 44% of men with high blood pressure don't know they have it. And only 27% of people with hypertension are diagnosed on medication and successfully controlled. 18% of the population has stage 2 high blood pressure, including those on medication. About 1 in 3 adults, 29%, have high cholesterol, which is 190 mg or higher. And when including those on medication, 32% of the population has high cholesterol. And if you heard me admit to that earlier, I am part of that 32% that has high cholesterol. I do believe we have a call coming in. It looks like we do have a call coming in. I am part of that 32% of the population with high cholesterol. And I am part of the people that are not taking their medication. So of 32% of the population with high cholesterol, only 32% of us are taking medication. That's a pretty crazy figure right there. Do we got a call? Are they there? They're not there anymore. Okay. You're welcome to call us back, 925-3261, if that was coming in through WhatsApp, or you can send us a message. All right, but it has to be via WhatsApp. Okay. Among young adults diagnosed with high cholesterol, only 6.9% are taking prescribed medication. And I'm no longer a young adult, but again, I fall into that category. Oh, I forgot to tell Dr. Wolf the supplement that I have in my cupboard that I stare at that I do not take. And I'm not going to repeat it over air because I'm not giving you guys no medical advice on what you need to be taking here. So, and that wasn't medical advice, by the way. 50% of men have low low HDL, the good cholesterol. And you don't want low HDL because if you have a low HDL, that can contribute to other risk factors. It can contribute to stroke, for example, if you have low HDL. 3.7% of adults report having had a heart attack or a stroke. Among adults aged 45 to 69, that raises to 5.8%. And 5.8% of adults aged 40 to 69 have a greater than 20% risk of a cardiovascular event in the next 10 years. That's pretty crazy. That's 1 in 5. 70% of adults in Cayman are overweight or obese. And I really appreciate the one listener. I believe we do have another call coming in. It looks like it. I really appreciate the one listener who said, in the Caribbean, in the cultural context of it, men might look at a woman and say, hey, I see WhatsApp calls coming on this phone. So anyway, sorry to interrupt there, but the comment that came in from our listener saying that, Caribbean men, we like to look at, we like a bit of the fluff, or we like a little bit of overweight in a cultural context. But I thought it was really important that Felicia had pointed out, we can appreciate curves. We can appreciate curves on somebody and also what being healthy looks like. So I appreciate that too. Yes, curves are absolutely beautiful. And I can tell you, when I moved here, thank God as a woman, I did not have to be pressured to be shaped like a wall anymore. It was great. So I appreciate that different cultural context here. So 2.8% of the population has zero risk factors for non-communicable diseases. Only 2.8% of the population has zero risk factors for non-communicable disease. So that means 97% of us pretty much are all at risk for non-communicable diseases. And the ones that we focused on today, hypertension, high cholesterol, and cardiovascular disease. So those numbers should sit with you guys this morning. We can make lifestyle changes. We can improve our nutrition, our diets, our exercise efforts. There's environmental factors to look at. There was 5 factors. I don't have them at the top of my mind right now, but there's 5 major risk factors for us to consider. So we can, on our own, try to do as much prevention as possible. I think Susan said a WhatsApp came in, but I don't have a WhatsApp on this phone that came in to me. So, is there a call? Oh, it's a call. Okay. Good morning. Thank you for calling the Buzz.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Giving thanks. I am listening to you and your colleague right there. But I just want to give an input and to let everybody know with experiences teaches wisdom. Your intake can rearranged through Belsey's nutrients, and you get a cleanse, flush, and detox, and bring your blood pressure normal, back to normal as a young person, teenager. I am not going to go in any and every detailing part of it, but I've experienced a lot of persons came to me for their blood pressure and they're off medication.
Okay.
And their diet is good.
Okay. Are you certified in anything like this?
I am a natural herbalist. Doctors know me, everybody knows me.
Okay.
I am going off and soon, but it's from I was a young person. I can attest to it. I cured from many things, cancer, a lot of things, through herbs.
What about you
So,
yourself? Did you have any of these conditions that we had mentioned?
I have.
Were you able?
I have.
Were
I
you
have.
for yourself? Were you able to treat yourself through a naturopathic way?
I treat myself, treat a lot of persons, save lives. Yes, I have. And I'm going to put it out soon because a lot of people, I'm not against persons who believe in medications, but as the Bible stated, that the herbs is the healing of the nation. And your body was made to repair itself. And nothing wrong with medication, but a lot of medications give side effects. And when the blood pressure is high, yes, it's the cholesterol causes. What causes cholesterol to be high is your dieting.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't rearrange your system and know your intake, you will forever be on medications.
Yes. And I think it's really important what Dr. Wolf had mentioned as well, because I'm not against naturopathic ways at all. I'm not against that at all. And you might have heard me say that I do have a supplement that I stare at in my cupboard to deal with high cholesterol. But I think one of the important things that she mentioned is if you're going to take this, to discuss with your doctor, hey, I am going to take this because there might be an ingredient in there that may not agree with something that your body is already going through. It could make a different condition worse, for example. So I think people should be armed with both knowledge. I think having knowledge from both sides is a great thing.
I have the knowledge, I have experience, I have testimonies, not from me, but from a lot of persons.
Okay.
Here on island, off island, your body, a lot of persons take care of their cars, their homes, their vehicles, their hair, everything, but they do not take care of their intake.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem lies. And the body speaks to them, their body speaks to them, but they don't understand it.
Or they're not listening.
And I am a living testimony. And I'm going to come out with it. I want to just meet with you, show you, talk to you. Persons even was supposed to do heart surgery. I had 2 heart valve bursts. 2 medications. And I've seen where God, because I don't leave God out of anything. He directs me, he shows me. You have many herbalists and you have many persons who do their own routine. But when you have persons with the knowledge and know that, yes, I removed my blood pressure, that even my internist was shocked. From 200 and hard, over 100 and hard. My blood pressure is normal because when you cleanse your system, when you flush your system and you detox your system, you have your system start to repair, your metabolism rearrange, because what the body craves for is the food that destroy the system. Yeah, and I bypassed so many surgeries.
That's excellent.
And when I look at persons and I tell them, I said, you need to come and get this. They was like, okay. And sadly to say that many of them passed off. But it's not everything I'm going to discuss on the radio like that, because I have to use wisdom. But I've been doing this over 30 years here almost in Cayman. Persons with knee, because you see the inflammation that gather in your system, there is infection from the brain. When those both things combine together, you get mucus. When you remove all of that out of your system, your body begins to function. Even with the diabetes, they said diabetes cannot cure it.
I don't know. I've heard the opposite of that. I've definitely heard the opposite of that. I know a couple people who have been able to reverse their diabetes on their own.
Persons in Cayman worldwide that their diabetes is gone completely. Completely. Glaucoma, they said glaucoma cannot be healed. Glaucoma can remove. What is glaucoma? Is when your blood pressure is high, your cholesterol is high, and everything starts from the brain. But when you can remove everything from the brain through your feet and orally, you're just a brand new person again.
Awesome. Well, I thank you for sharing your experience with us on The Buzz. And hopefully we will hear from you in the future when you say you have all your stuff together and you're ready to talk about this a little bit more. Thank you for listening, and even, for suggesting that there are alternative ways, but really to treatment, but really what it comes down to is those risk factors to change. And we know that so much of it just depends on our lifestyle choices, our diet, our exercise. Are we getting enough sleep? Those things just right there, they're constantly hammered in towards us. We're constantly told this. And it's like, when are we as a society really going to really wake up to that and say, hey, I know the very basics. Get my nutrition right, get my exercise right, make sure I get enough sleep. Those very, very basics right there. And I could very likely eliminate or reduce the risk factor of non-communicable diseases. It's something that we really need to start paying a lot more attention to and start taking a lot more seriously. It's our lives. Why aren't we taking it serious, And as the caller just said, we will spend a lot of time focused on, what we're doing in our lives, the busyness in our lives, but we don't focus on taking care of ourselves. You heard the Chief Nursing Officer, Felicia McLean, say, we're just so busy in our lives that self-care usually comes last. And it shouldn't be like that. Self-care should not be last. It should be priority in your life. And that might sound kind of crazy to people, but how can you pour from an empty cup? If you're not taking care of yourself, how do you take care of your children? How do you take care of your spouse? Your family, brother, sister, mother. How do you take care of your friends? You have to take care of yourself first. I don't think there's anything selfish about that. It's about having that firm foundation in yourself. And often who you are can rub off on other people. So if you're taking care of yourself and your family and your friends, your children notice that. Your children notice, okay, mom and dad, they prioritize healthy eating and getting enough sleep or exercise. You might not want to sleep when you're a teenager, right? But you see your parents doing these things, and it becomes habitual in your life and a normalized thing to you. And you grow up with these habits. It's important to start with yourself, because you never know how that influence and outreach impacts others. So I think no matter what we do, what we learned today with having Dr. Hilary Wolf and Dr. Felicia McLean on with me a little bit earlier, we got to start with self-care. We have the data showing that 97% of us in the Cayman Islands will have a non-communicable disease. 97% of us. We have to stop thinking that we are invincible, including me. I have to stop thinking this way. I have to stop waiting till I get to the very, very edge of something really bad to happen before I take action. And we can all do it. So we need these conversations. We need these reminders. We need this engagement. We need the data. And we need to move on it. So hopefully we'll be doing that. Tune in with me on Thursday. I'm going to cut the show just a couple minutes early today. Thank you to everybody who did call in, who messaged and gave their thoughts. You can join us back Tuesday for a diabetes discussion, but I'll be back with you on this Thursday for The Buzz. Have a great day, everyone.
The Buzz is proudly sponsored by Cayman Insurance Center, specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services. And Kirk Market, experience a world of choice. And Automotive Art Cayman, your car, our passion. And by Dorman Day, celebrating 10 years of opening doors to brighter futures. Visit dormanday.ky.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
RC Fusion is proudly brought to you by TCE Paint Shop, Farmers and Artisans Retail Market, and My Candle Cleaners. RC Fusion, weekdays 10 a.m. to 12 midday, right here on Radio Cayman 89.9.
RC Fusion.
Radio Cayman Energy.
Continuing the Caymanian tradition.
Let Cora keep my ground so clean.
The heart and soul of the Cayman people. Thank you for keeping the culture alive.
Let's spread the news every day. From East End to Georgetown, down into West Bay.